How do you become the most loved woman in music and still end up with a list of enemies that reads like a who's who of pop culture, politics, and petty revenge? We're talking about Beyoncé, Queen Bey, a billion-dollar brand. But for every fan throwing up the BeyHive salute, there's someone quietly, or not so quietly, rolling their eyes, gritting their teeth, and throwing some serious shade. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Some celebrities can't stand Beyoncé, and we're not talking about trolls or internet nobodies. We're talking Kid Rock, Wendy Williams, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, even Etta James took her down a peg. So what is it? Jealousy? Power trips? Or is Beyoncé just not the flawless icon the world thinks she is? Because the real tea? Some of these celebs didn't just side-eye her, they went public, called her out, trashed her performances, mocked her intelligence, even claimed she stole the spotlight where it didn't belong. And yet, through it all, Beyoncé said nothing, silent, composed, like she doesn't even see them, which only made them angrier. But don't worry, we see it. And today, we're breaking down exactly why these celebs risk their reputations to take shots at the queen herself, and why it might have way less to do with her music and way more to do with who she's become. And trust me, this isn't the clean-cut Beyoncé you see in Ivy Park campaigns. This is about power, ego, stolen moments, and a whole lot of buzz. Let's be real. Beyoncé isn't just a pop star. She's a machine. Every move she makes is flawless. Every look is calculated. Every rollout is masterfully engineered to make you think one thing: perfection. She's the girl who doesn't miss. Ever. And that's exactly where the problem starts. Because when someone seems too perfect, people start looking for the cracks. And with Beyoncé, the cracks were hard to find. She didn't do messy interviews. She didn't rant on Instagram. No breakdowns, no rehab headlines, no tell-all books. She gave the world her art, her aesthetic, and a tight circle that doesn't leak a thing. So what happens when you can't find the drama? Simple. People start creating it. They label her fake, cold, calculated, untouchable. And that's when the resentment starts to build, especially among other celebs who don't get the same treatment. Think about it. Beyoncé gets praised for being mysterious or regal, while others get dragged for being distant or stuck up. Double standard? Much? And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. She's a powerful black woman dominating every lane: pop, R&B, film, fashion, even politics. That doesn't sit well with everyone, especially those who still expect women, especially black women, to stay in their place. So over the years, the backlash started bubbling, quietly, then louder. Some celebrities kept it subtle. Others, not so much. Because when someone like Beyoncé refuses to play the celebrity game, no drama, no clapbacks, no gossip, she doesn't just break the rules. She rewrites them. And people who can't control that, they start getting loud, real loud. And that's exactly what happened when a certain rock star with a big mouth and very outdated views decided to poke the hive. Literally. Let's start with one of the loudest and honestly dumbest celebrity beefs with Beyoncé: Kid Rock versus the entire BeyHive. Back in 2015, Kid Rock thought it would be smart to come for Beyoncé's entire legacy in Rolling Stone of all places. He said, and I quote, "How can you be that big without at least one Sweet Home Alabama or old-time rock and roll?" Excuse me? Did he just say Beyoncé has no classic hits? We're talking about the woman behind Crazy in Love, Single Ladies, Halo, Formation, and Drunk in Love. But no classics? Boy, be for real. What Kid Rock didn't realize is that you don't just throw casual shade at Beyoncé and walk away untouched. No, no, sir. The BeyHive pulled up with digital pitchforks, a full-blown emoji war. Thousands of bumblebee emojis flooded his Instagram. Every post, every comment section, just bees. It was like a virtual plague. The man couldn't post a selfie without getting swarmed. And how did Kid Rock respond? Not with an apology? Not even a walk back. No, he doubled down and posted a picture of Raid insect spray like that was gonna make things better. All that did was pour gasoline on the fire. The BeyHive went harder. It became one of the most iconic stan wars in internet history. But here's the deeper issue. This wasn't about music. It was about legacy and relevance. Kid Rock built his brand on Southern rock and rebellion. Beyoncé represents evolution, power, and control. He saw her dominating the culture without his version of real music, and it triggered something. And let's be honest, if Beyoncé had been a white man with a guitar, he probably wouldn't have said a damn thing. The rage wasn't about no classic songs. It was about how Beyoncé redefined what classic even means. And that stung way more than any emoji swarm. Now let's talk about the meltdown that nobody asked for, but everyone remembers. It's 2016. Beyoncé hits the Super Bowl stage with Formation, black berets, leather outfits, fists in the air, a performance dripping in symbolism, boldness, and unapologetic black pride. The crowd, electrified. The internet, exploding. The message, crystal clear. She was done playing nice, but one man was not having it. Enter Rudy Giuliani, former NYC mayor, part-time conspiracy theorist, and apparently a full-time Beyoncé critic. The morning after the performance, he went straight to Fox and Friends and let loose. "This is football, not Hollywood," he barked. "I thought it was outrageous that she used it as a platform to attack police officers who protect her and protect us and keep us alive." Sir, you mean to tell me the man who once married his cousin is now the moral compass of halftime entertainment? Giuliani wasn't just criticizing the performance, he was trying to shut it down, framing it as an anti-police attack instead of what it was, a cultural statement about race, injustice, and pride. But Giuliani didn't see that. Or maybe he did, and that's exactly what scared him. Because let's be honest, Beyoncé wasn't singing about love and breakups anymore. She was now a political force, a disruptor. And for someone like Giuliani, who thrives on fear-mongering and control, that was unacceptable. He even had the nerve to say the NFL should provide wholesome entertainment for middle America. Translation: keep the black girl quiet, keep the messaging safe, and definitely don't challenge the system. But here's the gag. Beyoncé didn't flinch. She didn't issue a statement. She didn't respond to the backlash. She let the outrage speak for itself. And it did. Loudly. The BeyHive dragged Giuliani all over the internet. Think pieces were written. Memes were made. The culture clapped back. Because when a woman uses her platform to speak truth and gets branded a threat, that says way more about the system than it does about her. And speaking of people who have a long history of being triggered by powerful women, let's talk about that time Donald Trump couldn't handle Beyoncé's hips. You already know where this is going. If there's anyone who was going to get rattled by Beyoncé being sexy, powerful, and in total control of her image, it was Donald J. Trump. Flashback to 2013. Beyoncé shuts down the Super Bowl halftime show with a firestorm of lights, choreography, and full-on domination. The internet was in love. The media praised her. Even her mic stand was trending. But guess who called it ridiculous and inappropriate? Yep, Trump. On the Howard Stern show, he went on this bizarre little rant. When Beyoncé was thrusting her hips forward in a very suggestive manner, if someone else would have done that, it would have been a national scandal. Hold up, you mean the same guy who bragged about grabbing women by the, you know what, is now clutching his pearls over Beyoncé dancing? Make it make sense. Here's the thing. Beyoncé was doing what male rock stars, pop stars, and rappers have been doing for decades. Owning her sexuality, commanding the stage, and unapologetically being that girl. But somehow, when she did it, it was suddenly too much. That's the Beyoncé double standard. When men do it, it's confidence. When she does it, it's a problem. When others flaunt power, it's celebrated. When she does it, it's threatening. Trump didn't just critique her performance. He tried to shame her for breaking the mold of what a woman, especially a black woman, is supposed to be on stage. Submissive, sexy but contained, polite and palatable. Beyoncé threw all that in the trash. And that's the part that made men like Trump squirm. Because she wasn't begging for approval. She was demanding attention on her terms. And in Trump's world, that's unacceptable unless he's the one in control. But here's the real kicker. Beyoncé never even acknowledged his comments. Not a tweet, not a shade, nothing. Because while Trump was yelling from the sidelines, Beyoncé was still booked, still busy, still Beyoncé. And just when you think the critics couldn't get any messier, along comes a daytime TV diva who claimed to be a fan, right before dragging Beyoncé's intelligence through the mud. Yup, Wendy Williams was next. Now, if you know anything about Wendy Williams, you know subtlety is not in her vocabulary. The woman has made an entire career off of side eyes, savage shade, and saying the quiet part very loud. But even by Wendy standards, this was wild. It's 2012. Beyoncé drops the trailer for her HBO documentary, Life is But a Dream. A vulnerable, behind-the-scenes look at her life, her thoughts, her journey. Fans were excited. Finally, a glimpse into the mind of Queen Bey herself. Then Wendy opens her show, looks right into the camera and says this: "I'm going to be watching this documentary because fortunately, one of the TVs in our kitchen has closed captioning, so I'll be able to understand what she says." Gasps, laughter, crickets. But Wendy wasn't done. You know Beyoncé can't talk. Beyoncé sounds like she has a 5th-grade education. She can't talk. Let that sink in. She basically called one of the most successful, strategic, image-controlled artists in modern history dumb. And then, like it made it better, she tried to backpedal. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Ma'am, that is not how fandom works. The internet exploded. The BeyHive activated. People were quick to remind Wendy that Beyoncé has quietly built an empire, stayed scandal-free, and navigated the industry without ever needing a messy headline to stay relevant. Meanwhile, Wendy was out here flinging insults from a purple chair. But here's the psychology. Wendy Williams has always had a complicated relationship with women who exude power, beauty, and control, especially when those women don't need the media to stay hot. So this jab, it wasn't really about speech patterns or documentaries. It was about projection. Wendy couldn't get close to Beyoncé's level, so she took the one shot she thought she had, insulting her intelligence. But once again, Beyoncé didn't respond. No tweet, no shade, not even a lyric, because Beyoncé doesn't argue with critics. She outlasts them. And while Wendy was dragging her name on daytime TV, another woman, an actual music legend, was gearing up to do something even bolder. Tell the world she hated Beyoncé for singing her song at the most powerful event of the decade. Yes, we're talking about Etta James. And oh, it got ugly. Now this one hit different, because it didn't come from a tabloid queen or a right-wing politician. This came from a legend, a woman whose voice shaped generations, a woman Beyoncé herself had openly admired, Etta James. In 2008, Beyoncé starred in Cadillac Records, portraying Etta James in what many called her best acting performance to date. She sang Etta's iconic ballad, At Last, and people ate it up. The awards shows, the red carpets, the reviews, it was all glowing. And Beyoncé? She looked like she was honoring a legend. Fast forward to January 2009. President Barack Obama's inaugural ball. The moment is pure magic. Barack and Michelle share their first dance as the new first couple. And who's singing At Last? Yup, Beyoncé, national TV, global stage, history in the making, everyone's crying. Twitter's losing it. America's eating out of Beyoncé's hand. Everyone except Etta James. Because just weeks later, during a concert in Seattle, she got on that mic and let it rip. No filter, no warning. You know that woman he had singing for him, singing my song? She's gonna get her A whipped. I can't stand Beyoncé. She had no business up there singing my song that I've been singing forever. Yikes. The crowd was stunned. Some thought she was joking, but Etta was dead serious. It was raw, unfiltered, real. Now, to be fair, Etta James had been battling health issues. She passed away just 3 years later in 2012. But this moment wasn't just about a song. It was about legacy, ownership, and a younger artist stepping into a spotlight that Etta felt was hers. And look, there's a deeper conversation here about how older Black female legends are often pushed aside while younger stars are elevated in their image. Etta wasn't just mad at Beyoncé. She was mad at an industry that gave her moment to someone else. But once again, Beyoncé didn't clap back. No shade, no statement. She showed respect even when she wasn't getting any. And maybe that's why Beyoncé has remained untouchable all these years. Because while her critics throw tantrums in public, she stays poised, powerful, and unbothered. But let's be real. When this many people, from all different backgrounds, come for the same woman, it's not just hate, it's something deeper. Let's wrap it up. So, what do we make of all this? From Kid Rock to Wendy Williams, Giuliani, Trump, and even Etta James, they've all come for Beyoncé. Some took shots at her music. Others mocked her voice, her intelligence, her politics, her presence. And each time, they framed it like she was the problem. But let's be honest, this isn't really about Beyoncé being too political, too sexy, or not having a classic hit. Nah, this is about control. Beyoncé doesn't play by the industry's rules. She sets them. She doesn't overshare, doesn't fumble scandals, and doesn't need approval from the same machine that profits off chaos. That makes her dangerous to people who can't manipulate her. And when you're a woman, especially a Black woman who moves with that kind of power, people will either worship you or resent the hell out of you. Because it's not that Beyoncé did anything wrong. It's that she did everything right. In a world that only claps for you when you play small. So the next time someone throws shade at Beyoncé, ask yourself, are they critiquing her or are they choking on her power? Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's this. You don't become the queen without making a few enemies. And Beyoncé, she's sitting on the throne. silently, strategically, and completely unbothered. Subscribe if you're here for more real talk. Because the next episode, we're diving into the industry figures who tried to blacklist Beyoncé and how she flipped it all in her favor. Stay tuned.